And we do it? Of course we can. Together we're unstoppable. Together, nothing is impossible. That's that.
Okay, nice.
Uh,
Team building, here we go.
Team building. Welcome to Silly Whales. This is a mental health podcast. I am Alex Cupid. And who are you?
I'm Joe Kimber.
Yeah, this is a show where we talk about our mental health journey as well as deep diving into separate topics. We have a few episodes out now, so please check them out on all available platforms, such as Boomplay. Never heard of that one. But most importantly, Google Podcasts should be on iTunes by the time this comes out, and Amazon Music, where a lot of you guys have actually listened to it. Like, I actually don't listen to the show back at all. Only once on Spotify to see if it doesn't sound like shit. And if it doesn't, then I'm happy and I'll never touch it ever again. It's in the past.
I think I've listened to each one 3 times now, at least. Something like that.
So for our 50 plus listeners, I have to subtract 6.
No, well, to be fair, I listened to them before they were out on any platform when you just sent me the recordings.
Fair.
Twice for each of them and then once on the platform. So you can take off 1. Or 2,
that makes sense. General content warning. We do talk about things such as depression, anxiety, and other mental illnesses and health-related things. This podcast is for everyone, but it might not be specifically for you. And guess what? That's okay. I'm not going to hunt you down. Neither is Joe. Why? Because neither of us can drive. Well, Joe can. He just doesn't have a license. But I really can't. I'm not going to get far. If I get in a car, I'm not going to get to you. Unless you live 2 doors down from me. In which case, I'll probably still get in a car just for the giggles anyway, right? You know?
I could drive to you, but I can't park. So that's the trade-off.
That's the thing. My bike got stolen, so I can't even cycle, you know? This is a journal episode. This is episode 4. Episode 3 is being released the day we record this, which is a Monday, 15th of January. Should I go first if we're gonna kick off?
I was just gonna say this is journal episode. This is journal episode 3, right? If I'm understanding correctly. Okay, cool. This is gonna get become difficult real quick. I know this, but
it is.
We'll get through it.
Yeah, journal episode 3. For you guys will see it all. We don't. Organization is a strength. My week has been a week. It's been a very, I don't really actually know how to describe it, but I'm alive. We're happy. We're moving. I managed to play some cool games. I've been playing Football Manager, and then I've been coaching some football, and then I have been reading or listening to the Book of 5 Rings, which I mentioned in last week's episode. And honestly, it's a really cool book. They talk a lot about how you can strike down your foes. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm so glad I wasn't a samurai I'm happy I wasn't a middle-aged man or a young man growing up in any of those time periods. Because I would have died so quickly, I swear. Like, imagine if we were soldiers if we were soldiers in any of the world wars, man, we would get killed so quickly. Jesus Christ.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's just kind of, a lot of it was, I mean, there's skill involved, obviously, but there's so much luck involved, and just whether you lived the day or whether you just got cholera or some shit,
Yeah,
real bad shit.
Yeah, we had I hear a lot and I see a lot online, and it's actually one of the few permanently online things I see in real life where people say the younger generation can't handle certain things, but the older generation's super strong, and these kids are too sensitive nowadays. Do they know how wild it was back then in those times? If you sent a 17-year-old kid off to war, they are most likely not coming back. And if they do, they're not coming back the same. Why would you even compare it to the kids today? Be happy that we're not in that situation. And also, the kids of the previous generation, they were in wars in Iraq and then Afghanistan. And guess what? They have been let down by our government time and time again and not given the right support and funding to treat the various illnesses, disabilities, and various scars, both mentally and physically, they picked up in those war zones. But hey, they're too sensitive nowadays. Oh my goodness. You know?
Must be, must be.
Yeah. How's your week been?
It's been very interesting. Um, I was thinking about this, like when I was talking with Kessis about this on the weekend, but like it feels like January has gone super slow. Have you had the same experience? Like I
Yeah.
I feel like last weekend, as we record this at some, well, sorry, I shouldn't say last weekend though, because that's wrong. Last Friday, as we record this, it's Monday. 15th of January. So on the 11th, I was like, I swear down that it was the 20th or something like that. I thought we were like 3 weeks into the month. I thought that like January was going to be over relatively soon, but it's just, I don't know what it is. Um, January just has that effect on me. But
Yeah.
but to be honest, it's not been a bad time like for me. I think this has been helping me a lot, like having these conversations and having kind of something to do. I've been quite busy, I realize, with my evenings now, where I'm either working or I've got like different things planned and like discussions with you or discussions with someone else or like, some sort of a gaming related thing like D&D, which I haven't been able to do for the past month, but now we're coming back to it. Um, and it's going to be fun. Like tonight, it's going to be so good just to fuck around again. Um, with a bunch of people in a imaginary world of our choosing. Um, it's good for the soul, I think, to an extent.
Yeah,
Um,
D&D is Dungeons and Dragons for people who aren't super familiar. It's
I
something
feel like
you've been playing
everyone
for a
knows.
while, right?
Yeah, I think everyone knows D&D now. Surely,
You'd be surprised. You never know. I actually can't see our actual demographic of who listens to this show. So for all we know, we could have a bunch of people who just never heard of, or English isn't even their first language as well, who have never
true.
heard of that as well.
I,
We
I
did
I
have
think
someone from
probably
Canada, so who knows?
yeah. I think probably a lot of people know of it, even if they don't really understand it. Like I think there's quite a lot of those people as well. So I might be wrong. I might be wrong. But I was shocked how many people knew it that I thought it was more niche than it actually is. I remember it was one at one point. Yeah, I played it for years now. I started playing it in 2020. Um, I was just invited to a game that had already started, and oh God, I think I'm trying to remember if it was. I think it was summer. Yeah, it was summer in 2020. And holy shit, was that a nice thing to have, considering the amount of isolation that we experienced, and with
Yeah, yeah,
COVID and everything. Like like when I look back now, I realize just how much of in a mental fugue state I was for so much of that, and I was dealing with university and struggling and really just not dealing with it. Um, so to have something like that every week actually really helped because it set up like uh, I guess it set up like a schedule, and it just made a way for me to touch base with friends. Like I did know my friend Yasmin who played D&D with me. Obviously, like I met her in real life and stuff, and we started playing D&D together. But holy shit, like I think we became so much more close over the course of just playing because we just talked to each other every week. Like me and you didn't talk to each other every week, and we lived not that far away from each other. I think we did start
yeah,
to meet up more, but and Kestis I didn't talk to very often at that time. Like, it's
yeah.
just something like D&D really forces that angle, that social angle for me, which is such a big deal. I think.
Yeah, the importance of like having clubs and having a whole system that you can be a part of on a, I guess, on a consistent basis is really important for me. And that's why COVID affected me quite a little bit more because a lot of things I do were very social and very out there, like is playing football. It was going to the gym, and even though the gym isn't a social setting for me, just having those one-on-one conversations. Like for example, on the neurodiversity episode, the intro to that one was somebody saying to do something original. That conversation happens at the gym, and these things all tunnel in. It's good because for me right now, I'm in a very similar situation to you, Joe, where it's like, hey, I'm doing a lot and I actually forget about the things that are giving me anxiety. And there's moments where I just, I kind of feel normal in a weird way. Like,
Mm.
I think I saw creep into like who I was in 2019. I was like, oh, wait, I don't want to be that guy anymore. I want to be something completely better. So now it kind of feels like I'm meeting a new human being. I was like, oh my goodness, who is this? Um, it's good. Like, yeah, it's like we chose to record this show at the best time and the worst time because neither of us are going through like any ridiculous hardships at the moment. Um, so there's nothing to really like report on, but we're also going through a good period of change where we're adapting to change, and those changes have hardships, but they're hardships that are really well managed because we've been through similar things like this before, like settling into a new system, a new like social dynamic of situation. Just these are things that like we've gone through, so we've experienced, so we have a general idea of how to behave and like how to cope with it. And it's good. We're
I,
doing
I
good.
mean, it would be a wonderful irony if like doing this, like part of doing this whole podcast and everything, really did help kind of alleviate a lot of the suffering we've actually like um we've kind of been mulling with for years and years and years. I mean, it's not going to affect change everything, but it genuinely is like if it's part of that process, it's actually quite a. I think that's amazing, really. And I, I mean, we still have stuff to talk about with like getting to this point anyway. So there's no end of that. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean, this year so far has been pretty good for me, genuinely. Like outside of this, like what we're doing now, I have like I, there's been like lots of. I think I've reached. I think last year I was living at home, but and I had a job, and I was after uni, which was took a while for me to get that job, and I was getting money and stuff, but I wasn't working too much, and overall, I was also living at home. That was the major thing, and I kind of lacked a certain independent experience as a result. And I do think that being here after having settled everything, I mean, I think I needed that time to like, you know, build myself up, like being at home. So I'm not like, I'm not super upset that it took me so long before I moved out. But it was, I feel like I'm in such a better emotional place just because I have the opportunity to act in that independent way. And I know sometimes that it's easy to be like lonely as a result. I have had that come up a few times while I've been here. But now that I've like kind of settled down and I've got more of a sense of what the pattern's like, and I'm also thinking to myself, like, okay, what am I going to do next? Like, I'm here. I've done everything I need to do. I'm living in my own place. I've got a job. I'm earning money. What's the next thing? Like, and that's a genuinely wonderful place to be personally because I actually do have things I want to do, you know? Um, but that's been a kind of overarching thing at the moment, which I'm really, and I think this has helped because it feels like, hey, this is part of something new and so on. That's like making all of that more enjoyable. So, like things like planning holidays, for example, this year, like with in a way that I've never done before. Like me and you, we got to plan something for February. Like
Oh
we do
yeah,
have
for
to
sure.
do
We
that.
have to. Oh yeah, we should for sure.
But
We know where
something
we
you
have
don't,
to go.
something you don't know is I've got a holiday planned for end of April and early May.
Where are you off to?
I'm off to Tunisia, baby.
Oh yeah, is that with Kessis, right?
Yeah, yeah, because
No, you told me about this. You did.
oh, I did too. Okay, well, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I've done it. We planned it. It's gonna be a week there. So it's I and I'm really looking forward to it. I almost feel like I haven't done it. I almost feel like I haven't planned it because it hasn't even been a week since we planned it. Like literally the day after we recorded our last thing was the day that I then went round to their house and then we started chatting about it, or like 2 days after or something like that,
You
whatever
told
it
me about
was.
it like last year. You told me that you guys were planning it and that you guys are speaking
No,
about it.
no, we haven't. We just planned it. We just like done the holiday. Like we didn't do it. We hadn't had anything before then.
Like, I'm sure you told me that there's a like that you guys were thinking about doing something like a holiday.
I think I said we might. I want to go on holidays with my mates like independently because I haven't done that with you guys before. Like I
I'm
think
sure,
I said
what's
that.
happening to me. I'm sure like you were like, yeah, I'm thinking about going to. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
They have gone. Uh, Kessis and his girlfriend, my other friend Demi, have gone to Tunisia before.
Oh, that's it. Okay, that's it. There we go. Cool.
They
That's been
have gone
mentioned.
in the past, and I don't. I think that at one point there was like a long time, like over a year and a half ago, there was like, oh, you could join if you wanted to, kind of thing, and I was like, I don't really have enough money to do that, and I didn't really feel it at the time anyway, so I was like, nah. But this year, like I was literally just around, and then it was like, oh, there's this really cheap, all inclusive thing like on with EasyJet, and it was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And then we just booked it. so now,
Yeah.
so now we got something which is really nice to look forward to. Like that's
Yeah,
not
man.
something I it's just weird because a lot of this is new to me, and for a lot of people, that none of this is that new a concept to them. But for me, it's just exciting because I haven't done it.
Yeah,
So.
man. I'm lucky I was able to go to like a few like different places last year. Um, went to Edinburgh, went to Germany, went to where else did I go? Went to multiple places in the UK, which I'm used to traveling in the UK. UK is fine, but like going to places like oh yeah, I went to Amsterdam, of course, yeah.
Mhm.
And it was like cool, it's all cool, but I want to do it again. Like I want to do Amsterdam with you, so I can explore Amsterdam like in a different way. Um, and then I also want to do. I just want to go places, man. And I know that my schedule will be fairly restrictive, and there's a cat meowing.
Mhm.
I'm, I might, you know, like Jesus Christ. Anyway, I want to explore, like, just explore the world, man. I'm ready to do more things. I've also applied for jobs in different countries randomly, um, which is actually slowly terrifying me. 'Cause I realize that there's a high chance I'll probably be asked to interview for one of them, but it's in Austria.
Wait,
um,
wait, when you say you're applying for jobs there, like these are jobs where you have to physically be there. This isn't like a
yeah, yeah.
right. Okay.
And there's jobs in football as well, and like it's like okay, cool, we can move to Austria. That's no problem with that.
I mean, you could
Like
definitely to have an interview. You don't have to go there for the interview. You could probably have that online or something like that. They have
hopefully,
ways of doing that.
it was like I applied for one of them. I was like, I'm not even qualified for this. I bet I'm not qualified for this. I was laughing to myself, and I was like, you know, must be willing to learn German and or French. And I'm like, oh my, hey, look at that! I can speak a little bit of French, and I can have a basic conversation in German, most likely in a few months. Give me time. And then I apply for it, and I look at the requirements. I'm like, oh, I'm actually very qualified. This is bad. I'm like, um, and then there's like fear with it, and then there's so many opportunities out there that I just wasn't taking, and now I'm taking them all. I'm a bit like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna die. There's so much good things happening. I don't know which. I'm not panicking at the good things happening because I'm not used to the good things happening. So I'm like, make it stop. So I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable in the sadness, and now the sadness is like barely there. I'm like, help me. Like I need to stub my toe on something. Like I need to like drop a dumbbell on my foot, something. Yeah, you know.
I mean, if you are planning to move, I mean, if this good thing did happen to you and you were moving to another country, you are going to get a bit of a toe stubbing. Like you, it's not like it's just rainbows, doing that. That's a difficult process. Like it will be to like
I don't
move,
think there's
but
any
like
rainbows in Austria anyway, or in anywhere. Like like. But oh god, yeah, but yeah, like even that, like I realized, oh, there's a some cool jobs I can probably go for in America. I'm like, why am I not jumping at these opportunities? I was like, I want a dog. I'm meant to be getting a dog. I'm meant to be getting a dog for ages now. This month we're gonna get the dog sorted. So I'm like, okay, cool. How am I gonna move to Austria with a fucking dog? And the question is, with ease. We're gonna do it with ease. So yeah,
All
it's
right
been
then.
cool. Yeah, look at that, man. Things. I'm like, yeah, that as well as like realizing that I've got two raises from work recently, so I'm like, okay, we're fine, you know.
Mhm.
And like none of my performance based, is just my role now pays more, so I get paid more because of that. We're happy.
Oh, you just like been there long enough, basically.
I think it's a mixture of the government raising the minimum wage for those, like for my role as a teaching, technically a teaching assistant, but also I get paid more because I do a different role, and then that's all been bumped up nicely. So I'm like, I'm happy. I'm sitting here and I'm chilling. Um, yeah, it's wild for me, but in fairness, I think bad things have actually happened this month. But my mentality is so much stronger that I've not really noticed. I've not let it
Yeah,
like dog me down.
yeah. I don't quite know what's going on, but I've had that with this month where like I've had a difficult.
I'm actually not going to bother hiding it. Yeah, we had a whole technical issue there where Joe could hear me. Funny enough, I have the expensive microphone on a boom stand. Yeah, I'm the one causing the technical problems here. Who would have thought it?
Yeah, I don't know, but I guess my mic just can't pick up my headphones, which is that's fine.
Yeah, I need to
It's a
get
good.
in-ear headphones. I was using the Bluetooth like ones, and they were working really well. And then I dropped them in Regent's Park, and that's sad. So, yeah,
Was
that's
I
the
talking?
Amazon buy.
What was I talking about? I was talking about. Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry. I just remembered. I think I was saying that like I feel like I've had the same thing as you, where I've had like really shitty days at work and things like that. Seemingly like days where stuff has gone wrong, or like days where I definitely would have been really not just like not looking forward to, but like actively um would would also not enjoy when I'm there, like at a certain point. Um, and in fact, this last week I've worked more than I have any other week. I am not working like a considerable amount, but it's just the hours are really shitty times. Um, like I'm working longer on a Sunday and working on a Thursday now. Um, so my week is longer, and I just have like this really shitty shift on a Sunday. And it's basically, and somehow like I kind of got through them relatively well. Um, and I was like, I mentioned I was really ill like a week or so ago, and I even noticed like while I was ill, I was kind of like physically I felt shit, but mentally I was weirdly like Im like impregnable. Like I felt like I couldn't be touched on that regard. Like I wasn't being negatively affected by the fact that I was bored or the fact that like things weren't going or that like I felt crap. And I felt like that same thing has happened this weekend, like just gone. And I'm slightly not sure what that means. I don't know if that's going to be like a permanent thing, or maybe not permanent, but like that's if the average has like improved for me in that regard. Maybe it has. Um, and if that's the case, then that'd be brilliant. That sorts out a lot of stuff in my life. But it's it's like definitely something that like stood out to me because I it's almost like I stopped hearing like it's almost like I stopped hearing a voice in my head like being bothered by things, at a certain capacity. And if that's the case, that will continue, then cool. I think it's probably just that I actually do generally feel better right now because of things happening right now. So I it's harder to like shake me um or to like kind of throw me off where I am right now in life. It's just better than where I was before, and that's keeping me going probably. But I I'm happy to be positive about it. But there's a cynical part of me that thinks it won't really work that way. Like it can't be. humans aren't and minds aren't permanent anyway. That's just true. Something that fundamentally, is a difficult thing to like, I think, come to terms with. But we're not very permanent. We fluctuate and change all the time, for good and bad. I think the problem is that we do it for bad, and that feels unfair. But it also does it for good, so it's not all shit. Um, but like I definitely have been in a better space in general, and I think the biggest thing will be when like new stresses come up and stuff, and then we'll see. Like at least now, like the shit I'm dealing with at work or something like that is old stress. Like I know it, and I've had quite a bit of experience. I've had like a year and almost a year and a half in retail now, so I'm used to the kind of stuff that comes up and what's expected and all of that. So there's an experience element to it that's like helping push me along. But yeah, we'll see. I'm quietly optimistic though.
Yeah, like it's like I feel like you've always had a level of optimism about you, though. I feel like optimism is something that you really are good at having, but I'm very much like a cynical person. I think I'm more optimistic about other people. I'm very cynical about myself, about what happens to me. You're very optimistic on a more broader scale.
I don't know if that's true. I think I would agree with what you said about how you feel is how I used to feel. And I think it's still how I feel technically. I think it's just that I feel I think I'm quietly optimistic only because for myself in this case because it's surprising me. Um, and I think that it's if something does surprise you, I don't I've come to realize there isn't really any reason to like surprising you in a good way, obviously. I don't think there's any reason to like squash that. Um, like genuinely when everything changed, like when I was like 21 and I stopped feeling as much anxiety and so on. At that point in my life, obviously I had done things, but it felt like it came out of nowhere. Like that was, I genuinely thought like this is temporary. Like my mind was very much in the way that like this is just a thing, and all I could think about like for the next however long, and I remember talking to my mum about this, like all I can think about is when's it going to end, kind of deal. Like when is it going to stop? And the reality is that I could is that while it didn't, I think is very possible that I could have prevented the potential good that it had if I had genuinely like sort of self is it called self-fulfilling, yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy to like myself into feeling shit again, or like not like feeling
Yeah.
or not getting some of the benefit by just agonizing over it. Um, and but I think I got lucky there. I think my mental state wasn't that wasn't optimistic at the time, even about that, even though I felt so much better. Um, and as it turns out, there was a lot more to work on for me. It just literally, relatively speaking, felt so much better that I couldn't believe what had happened. Whereas, when I look back now, I'm like, oh yeah, no, it was clearly a lot better. You weren't suicidal at that point, and so on and so forth, in the same way. But you know what? Like, there was a lot of behaviors that didn't change, and there was a lot of like avoidance issues I still had, and like a lot of the behavior, I think, is the right way of saying it. And then that behavior then fed into feeling shit again, kind of thing. But like, there was just certain core things that felt different, and those core things feeling different were huge, um, like monumental. Uh, but yeah, like, I mean, anything is better than absolute garbage, absolute fucking rubbish. So, you know,
Yeah, like therapy this Friday is gone. So I guess that would be what, the 13th, I guess, or whatever. And like she noted that there was a very clear uptake in my mood, and that from the last time she saw me to here now, and like through the Christmas break, that like she like what did she say? I seem motivated to do stuff, like,
Mm.
and like that's a direct quote. And it's something that she's only saw a handful of times, and it always happens like after an event. So it's weird that it's happening in the middle, and she's saying that we have to explore that because normally I go through a dip, and then an event will happen, and then I'll like either crash and then come up, or slow dip and then come up again slowly until the next event where we keep going up and down like the roller coaster. It's like, okay, there's a middle ground where things are happening, but it's not derailing me when previously it would have. And now these things are happening, but I'm not even dipping. I'm just moving forward. Like my
Mm.
like my old like phrase, always forward. You know, it's not like I'm actually barreling through things. So like it was like, oh, it's really weird that you came in here. You're like, because I spoke about the podcast. I was like, hey, I've started this, and it has a name, City Wales, and it actually means this, and um, the reason why I say this because I kind of want to keep it a secret, you know.
Of
Um,
course.
but like it's and like how yeah, the whole point of it was she noted that I came in motivated with ambitions and targets, and that she hasn't seen that properly. And whenever she does see it properly, it's always after an event. So now she wants to zero in on that. I have no issue with that because I would love to know why I've all of a sudden reached a point where I'm fully walking through problems, and
Mm.
they are affecting me, but they're not holding me back. The big one I
Yeah.
need to address though is with myself. I've had these clips now for ages. I've made them 2 days ago, and I've sent you them already of the show, and it's of me doing the talking. I have the ones of you, and I have to send them over to you as well, and they're like straightforward talk about the show, and I haven't shared them on social media yet. So we have 50 listeners already, and none of them are from my social media because I've been afraid to post them. Why am I afraid to post them? Like, what's going to happen? Like,
This
but
is for this is for Insta, right?
for Instagram, mostly it's the only social media I have, and Reddit. Like,
Okay.
I shared it to a social media platform called We Are Eight. If you've ever heard of that.
No, what is that?
So it's
What?
like it started off a couple of years ago. Rio Ferdinand, ex Manchester United defender, is one of the main investors in it, and it's a social media platform
Uh-huh.
built on the idea of um, you can watch adverts and you can be paid for those adverts, or you can donate the money you earn to charity. And it's about changing the world. It's a very like new way of looking at it, and it's trying to be a positive social media platform. And it's I don't know how many users it actually has, but it's growing ish. Whether or not it's still sustainable, I don't know. But I posted it to that. Um, and I spoke about the podcast a little bit on that. And I have like a few, like 5 or 6 friends on it who I don't know who any of them are. But like, okay, cool. But I need to have a word with myself and be like, why am I not sharing it to fucking Instagram? Like, it's so simple. Like, why am I worried about being like vulnerable about those things when if you scroll through my Instagram, it's literally all through there anyway. So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I also know I need to reply to messages from people as well. I've not been ducking you or ignoring you. It's just that, like, if you're not in my life properly, I kind of forget you exist, and then I get reminded of your existence, and I go, "Ooh, hello." Um, so don't hate me for that, please. It's not a personal thing. It's just sometimes I lose track of people because I want to say ADHD, but it could just be generalized stupidity. Who knows?
I very much understand where you're coming from. I've done it with you, and I've done it with many other people. Um, I don't know. I don't understand where it comes from personally. I always thought maybe it's something to do with like not wanting to. Actually I don't really know. I always thought maybe it's something to do with not wanting to appear vulnerable on occasion. Like but it doesn't quite make sense because you can always lie or pretend, right, that you're not feeling good. Maybe it's like a desire not to lie about it, but you don't want to face it. Or at least in my case, I don't mean in your case necessarily, but maybe I didn't want to face someone, but I didn't want to face someone in such a way where I was outright lying to them about how I felt. Um, or again, it's just kind of like avoidance. I'm not sure, but I think I'm doing it less now, but also it's normally because again, I'm feeling better now, so it's quite hard to tell. And now I'm like having multiple. I'm engaging more with people, which by the way, no New Year's resolution specifically, but that is kind of the thing I generally want to be doing. It's just interacting and socializing with people I like or groups I like more. Um, Actively trying to like message people more or whatever, which I know is very, very difficult for me. Because I'm like you, I forget that people exist. I just don't remember. Like, oh, I have my brother exists. Right, right. I need to go. I should message him something and ask how he is. You know. Um,
Yeah, like I forget about my own like my own siblings, and it's not. I think what tends to happen is some people take it as me not wanting to talk to them specifically, or me not
mhm.
wanting to like I'm avoiding them because it's them. No, it's more just like I've forgotten, and then now I don't really want to face you because I know I've forgotten, and I kind of forget how we're talking and how we're interacting with each other. So it's like, oh, okay, I have to figure out like, are we on friendly-ish terms? Were we talking about something really emotional? How do I approach this again? And after a while, I get so anxious about it that I just end up not doing it.
Yeah, yeah. But for me, it's like a positive feedback loop, one way or the other. It's like if I think, like for example, talking more with you, um, causes me to talk more with other people, or causes me to want to message other people and things like that. I think specifically messaging because I think like Kestis I can see in real life, but I know he's nearby. And a bit like when I lived back home, you were there. Like I could go see you, but I wasn't necessarily messaging other people. You know, like the messaging part I'm not great with, but the act of like seeing you is not so bad, or the act of seeing Kestis isn't that bad. Um, but like if I'm thinking to myself like, oh God, like oh sorry, let me rephrase this. If I'm if I'm not talking to, if someone has messaged me and I'm not talking to them, it's never pointed because it's almost certainly true that I'm not talking to anyone. And it's a positive feedback loop that like I'll get a message and I don't respond to it, and then I'll get another message from someone else and I don't respond to that, and it will keep that way until all of a sudden like something will happen and I'll reply to every message all at once.
Yeah,
and it will
yeah,
be
like
and it will be a lot over it'll be overwhelming and in many cases too late or whatever. It's me just apologizing, which it feels worse honestly than just answering immediately. I don't know why I don't just answer immediately so often, but yeah,
that's the
it's
thing. Like I got when I was talking about like the abusive messages I got when it happened, and I posted about it on Instagram back in November. People were like, "Oh my god, like it's really bad," da, da, da. And it meant a lot to me, but I couldn't respond to it that day. And
mm,
like there's people that sent me like voice notes and all that stuff, and I'm just like, I can't face that now because it's been too long, and I don't really know how to approach that conversation of, yeah, I'm doing great, and I've internalized it and kind of discarded it from my mind, and it's not a factor anymore. But how do I thank you for your message after that? Because I don't really want to throw myself back into that mindset of where I was beforehand. So like
right.
I've kind of exiled it to a place where it doesn't really exist, and um to reface those messages and be like, this is a really hard time for me. I kind of don't want to risk my own health for that, you know? And it sounds selfish, but with mental health, you kind of have to be a bit selfish with things, and that's a problem a lot of people struggle with, and I struggle with it as well. Like, it's hard to balance being selfish and being patient with somebody as well. Like, it's difficult. Um,
It's partly just assessing what is selfish, right? Like I think
yeah,
that's the difficult part of it because it's so loaded. However you feel or however you react to your own self or interact with others, it always feels either, at least to me, it always felt extreme, right? Like however I felt about it was, oh, I'm doing this thing for myself, and then I'm like realizing, oh, I'm such an idiot. I'm probably not doing a thing for this person, or I think the opposite, and then find out that there's something I like completely missed because I'm not like because I think I just didn't know enough, and sometimes like not knowing when you don't know something and you don't realize it, like you're ignorant of it, there is that kind of blissful element to ignorance where it's like I don't know the harm I'm causing, or I don't know or I don't know the potential that I could have done, right? And then whether it's doubt or a kind of recognition, like a regret or a knowledge of something, or in the moment you're not sure, like you just like doubt, like you just don't know whether or not you're doing the right thing. Then suddenly all of this extra stress comes in, and you're like, "Fuck! What if I did do this, or if I could have done that?" So I think so much of like, which is why I will say, surprisingly, I think I'm quite good when it comes to like, if you talk to me about something, we've had this conversation before, where conversations in the past where we've given really good advice to each other, but it's always advice that we are not going to take. We wouldn't recognize if the same situation happened to ourselves, right?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Everyone's a better coach than they are a player. Like it's so much easier to explain to someone like, "Hey, no, there's nothing wrong with you doing this. Like it's a good thing for you to do." But then in the moment, you're like, "Fuck it, I'm a terrible person for doing this," or something like that. And you're like, "No," and in reality, you're not. And I guess it's one of those things which maybe if you have enough conversations with other people where you explain to them, "Hey, there's nothing wrong with you doing this. Like there is nothing wrong with it. Like just communicate and explain, and it's all good." And if they don't accept that, then I mean, you don't. It's not like then throw them away or something like that. But you have to know that there's only so much you can do without someone's ability to like meet in the middle of that, right? And so sometimes you're doing something that's absolutely fine, and some there are moments where and that's a very like changeable thing, like where the line is for that. But in certain cases, you are in the right, and it's okay to accept that you are in the right, even if it's not the quote unquote best outcome, because ultimately it's you and another person, and you're not necessary, and your lines are going to be different, or your situ, or what is your like yeses and nos essentially are not going to be the same. And it isn't that one of you is wrong and one of you is right. It's kind of like that you're both wrong and both right in as much as you can be of the situation, because I can't tell you how you should feel and you can't tell me how I should act, kind of thing. It's a weird like it's a weird dynamic. But I guess maybe if you have that conversation enough with people, you start to realize in yourself that I'm that conversation I'm having with someone, I could have that same level with myself. And maybe I'll realize that certain things aren't that bad, which is genuinely why I feel like so much of mental health, like getting over or around mental health or dealing with mental health, is so much to do with communicating with someone ideas and having a conversation, or even just like a kind of casual discussion about like what is the right thing to do in a certain situation, and generally not taking it so seriously that like yes, maybe you do something bad sometimes. We have regrets. I have a load of regrets, and so do you. But like, not always is those bad things aren't like so defining to everything that it's that it and and also people are much more forgiving than you think. People recognize that you're not necessarily in the best place, or that you've done something wrong and that's not a good thing, and blah blah blah. Like it depends on the scenario. Um, and you need to kind of be open to probably the best outcome. Like in your mind, have the idea that like, well, the best thing that can happen is this. Let me try for that. If you hear a dog, by the way, I apologize.
Aw.
But there is a dog that's barking downstairs.
Yeah, but no, on your point, like that's the thing though. It's like a lot of people, I've been noting this with social media, like influencers, um, and general celebrities as well. Whenever a celebrity gets quote unquote cancelled, whatever the fuck it is, it's always like the fan base of that person seems to then go, I feel so betrayed, or like I trusted this individual, and it links to the whole parasocial relationships thing, but also like
Hmm.
everyone has been a dick to somebody. Like this idea that because somebody is has like a more, I guess, favorable, it depends on how you look at it and how you rate it, social status to you, be it they're on an income, be it they're just famous because of their artistic pursuits, whatever, that they should be held to a different moral standing, I think is ludicrous. Like, yes, there's a point to be said about being like role models for somebody, but also, like, when I hear people say things like, I can't believe this celebrity cheated on this celebrity, and then they're like talking about how evil and how bad it is. I'm like, well, like, I know you personally. I know exactly what you've done. like, like, so why are you holding somebody to a standard that you can't even achieve yourself? But also,
I got.
why are you expecting everyone to be perfect, but then you yourself can be allowed to mess up and make mistakes because you're only human? And it's like it comes to the whole dehumanization of certain individuals in society. The
Mhm.
biggest one is footballers. Like for me, the way people dehumanize footballers is absurd and also disgusting. Like the things that we're openly able to say about a professional athlete. Wow, with zero repercussions. Like we can point blank bully them and nothing really happens, you know.
Mhm.
And but if they like respond back to a fan or give a fan a middle finger, he's gonna be on like the front page of every single newspaper. They're gonna say, he's no longer gonna be English. He's gonna be Jamaican born, um, superstar, failure, flop, and they'll hunt him down because he's not human. And it's like the idea of a moral compass and the fact that it only really swings to a certain extent depending on who you are is a scary thing. So
Yeah.
what I'm getting at here pretty much is like who you are as an individual, understand that you will be a dick to somebody and it's gonna happen. And maybe it is for your own benefit that you were, or maybe it even wasn't. And things just happened and you've made the errors and now here we are. And my cat is still meowing.
I
And
we got animals on both ends here.
yeah, and it's just like, well, what we now need to do is to figure out a solution to how, you know, it's okay to be a dick. It's okay to be bad. It's okay to be a mildly bad human being at times. Don't break the law.
I've
But
just realized that relationships are going to be a really interesting discussion topic eventually for us
oh yeah,
both
for sure.
on this podcast.
Like it's okay. Like it's okay because it's gonna happen. Like the amount of times now we see like this person was mean to me. Yeah, of course. Like of course they are. They're literally human being. It's gonna happen. Of course, there's limits that we just should never cross. There's things that we should never do, things we should never say, and those will be punished accordingly. But then, like telling someone to shut up, for example, and then being like, "Oh my god, how could he? I feel so betrayed." Get out of here, man. Let's go. Just get out of here. It's gonna happen. You know. Sometimes people have really bad days. um, and there's a big difference between having a bad day and being a dick to someone. There's a difference between that as well as being a general dick and being a nasty human being on a consistent basis. There's a huge difference.
Yeah. I do think there's something on a spiritual, like if there was something I could definitely point to like on a spiritual level that I do actually like think about and maintain, because I'm not religious, but I read a lot of different stuff from different religions and cultures and so on. I'm always fascinated by it. Um, the idea of like kind of the lack of separation between like you as a person and everyone else around you, like um the idea of like within and without, basically. That it's, for example, it's one of the reasons why. I think I'm quite judgmental. People, we'll get into this whole discussion like another time. I don't want to explain it all, but I get quite judgmental on occasion of people. I don't generally voice that judgment. That's the difference. But I am quite judgmental at a kind of core level. Um, I scrutinize people, but I think the reason is because I scrutinize myself so heavily, and or rather, it's not because of. It's more that I do scrutinize myself, therefore I must scrutinize everyone else. Because in order to scrutinize myself, I have to have some like dialectical like comparison. I have to have something to compare me to in order for me to make sense. I can't define myself by purely me alone because in a vacuum, what am I? There's nothing else to understand to relate it to. So there has to be someone else that I'm relating that to. Um, and there's definitely like a you can forgive yourself more easily if you forgive other people more easily because you recognize when you recognize the faults in others and how that's okay, you can begin to recognize the faults in yourself and realize that's okay. So I think there's a lot of that stuff that I would like definitely posit is is quite a big thing, which we do. I think we do on occasion. Like it does come up in media sometimes, but I think it's probably more fundamentally helpful. And I'd actually be curious how many people. And again, it might not be the same as me, but I'd be curious to know how many people have like who are like very anxious or like scrutinize themselves a lot who would also say at a certain level that they do the same with other people, even if they don't like voice it or act on it necessarily. Like that they can see that or feel that. I don't know if like how common that is, but I'd
Imagine
be
it is
really
pretty
curious
common,
if
man. I think like the amount of people I've met and spoken to, I'm friends with, who say like one of their favorite things to do is to people watch. You know,
Mm,
like, and they judge people. Like, there's a reason why I think cases of anxiety in young people is rising significantly. It's because we don't just people watch anymore. We people watch with cameras. So, like, and
mm,
a lot of candid moments are captured now. Like I'm on Reddit and I'll be scrolling through, like, hey, here's Lilo Messi scored a penalty. Oh, and here's a woman punching her boyfriend in the face repeatedly. Jesus, like, you see that, and then the comments are like very split. People have picked sides over these two people who, in reality, yes, you've seen them, but it's quite imaginary because no one knows the context of the situation. No one knows exactly what's happened behind it. They just see the action and they see it on the camera, and then they've already made sides and they're willing to argue for hours on end with somebody about it, and they don't know anything about the people involved. Like you
mm.
can draw conclusions, and the conclusions might be correct, but geez, it to like it's like playing on Blood Gulch in Halo 2 or Halo 1, is it? Like you capture the flag, you have to defend your position at all costs, but what are you actually defending? Like, you know? And then the two people in that video is immortalized on the internet forever. It's got millions of views or whatever. And it's like, what do you do with that? So there's always there's a lot of fears and trepidation that comes with it all. And then yeah, you know. But all we can really do is do our best. That's the key thing really. Um keep
This
trying
is
our best.
this has been a good journal, man.
Yeah, it
I've
has been.
enjoyed this journal.
It has been. And as we close it up, what do I have to plug? I think if we hit like a certain viewership per month, things happen. Like we could earn money from this, which would be quite cool. I don't want to ask people to share it, so you don't have to share it unless you actually really enjoy it and you think other people enjoy it. What you could do is you could send us a question. I've spoken to a few people who listen to the show. I forgot to ask them about whether there was anything we wanted to discuss. Most important thing I was asking them is, did we sound okay? And the answer was mostly yes.
That has been the thing that you've been most afraid of every single time. But it's probably because you care about that thing when you listen to a podcast or whatever. So again, from within, without,
Yeah, man. But yeah,
from
if
without
anything,
within.
in this episode has like triggered anything in you, uh, all the resources are there. You know, if you're listening to this show, you probably know that they all exist already. Samaritans, the Shout service, which is a text number you can call. I think these are all UK only. So in America and all these other countries, find your equivalent of like 24-hour helplines for mental health. I will get a list of them all. I'll read them out at some point, but that won't be today. Also,
Uh,
shoot us an email. There should be a contact thing somewhere. I'll put it in the description somewhere. If not, it is, it's going to cause problems. I can feel it. The Prince of Hearts, alexcupid@gmail.com. That is my email. That's going
the
to go
Prince of
to shit.
Hearts, the Prince of Hearts, alexcupid@gmail.com.
Yeah, I've sacrificed the email effectively now.
Was that your email? Why didn't you make another email?
Because I will. I will.
Okay.
Um, but I know what's going to happen because I feel like this show might grow. So people will come back to this and be like, I'm going to email that and see if I can get through. If I don't get through on their main one. But yeah.
Maybe get them to put something in the what you call it, in the topic or whatever it's called, like the title bit, that bit.
No,
To
I think people are just going to sign me up to like, I don't know, a Mormon dating website. Who knows?
Oh, I get you. Yeah, okay. That email is fucked. It's just just have a new email from now on.
Yeah, probably. But hey, this podcast has 50 listeners as of now.
Uh,
50 people who have watched it anyway. But yeah. All right, Silly Whales. Um, I don't know what else to say. I have no way. Oh yeah, that's it. That's it. Just a normal outro. Anything else to add, Joe?
I will be probably recording something else this week. Continuing our what do we call the like separate series that's not a journal series? Like,
Silly Whales presents.
okay, City Wales present. We'll do another City Wales presents episode this week. We're gandering the idea of what the fuck is that sentence? We're thinking about it, and we'll probably do that. So part two, I think it'll be the school. It'll be like school continuation, but we'll see.
No, no. We'll take 2 steps to the rear and get out of here. We're in the wind. See ya.
Bye.